The Edgeless Horseman here. I thought I'd do a quick video where I talk about the latest two news releases out of Irving Resources. And this one is the news release we got November 5, 2019. And the obvious thing to note is that this was a first pass drill campaign at Omu Sinter, and they actually drilled these holes blind. These holes were all drilled before the CSAMT survey results were in hand. So, as we've heard Quinton say that the hit rate on these epithermal precious metal deposits is not that great, but they managed to hit possibly economic gold in like 7 of 8 drill holes, I think. And that's outstanding, of course. So to me that would suggest that this is indeed a very robust system, that it wasn't just one mineralizing event, for example, that is very localized, because as we know, the Sinter is huge. I think it's up to 12 meters or something, so one has got to wonder just how much fluids over how much time went up in this area to form a 12-meter thick Sinter deposit on surface. So all in all, I think that those are great signs, and there's some high-grade hits in here, and the main thing, I guess, is that as is stated here, the prospective boiling horizon believed to be at depths greater than 380 meters below surface, and phase 2 drilling will test this hypothesis utilizing large diameter PQ size drilling tool that will allow drilling of deeper holes. So we're not even in the main target zone yet, and Irving was able to get high grade hits like this. And furthermore, strike length of the system is already up to 1 kilometer at Omu Sinter from here to here. And basically, as you can see, these holes were basically blind holes, and but it's obvious that the system is continuous. And this is a cross-cut of the CSAMT readings, and this is of course overlain on some of the drill holes. And again, this was after these surveys were in hand, after the actual drill campaign was already done. But as can be seen here, basically it seems like a few holes actually went towards the possibly main feeder zone at Omu Sinter. But also note that there are some deep-rooted structures here, and all these shaded areas are, I think, are target areas. So there's basically 4 parallel trends, and we know the system is basically already up to 1 kilometer. So the question then becomes obviously that, okay, let's say we've hit these kinds of grades above the boiling zone, which starts here. What happens if, let's say 3 of these actually hosted economic mineralization, and we're already up to 1 kilometer, for example? We haven't drilled these peripheral ones up to 1 kilometer. I think it's just basically this one that's been drilled over 1 kilometer. But anyway, you get the picture that before they had these results, one might just assume that, okay, there's one trend here that's of interest. But I've asked Quinton about this, and these are all targets as well. I mean, this is obviously the most de-risked one. And again, I mean, this is where the boiling zone is supposed to start. And that we get grades such as this in all the way up to almost, I mean, surface level. I mean, that's very encouraging because as far as I understand, epithermal deposits, I mean, when the fluids start boiling, they start precipitating gold. So the higher the fluids get, the closer to the surface, more and more precious metals would already have been basically released or precipitated. So, I mean, I think it's the norm that the upper parts of most epithermal systems are quite barren because the precious metal content has already been dropped out around the boiling zone area. And I mean, I think the boiling zone starts like 350 to 380 meters at depth. So, I mean, these are possibly, I mean, this is a kind of a nice intercept. I mean, so there's certainly a possibility that there might be economic precious metal content all the way up to surface, and then we're not even in the real treasure box, which is this level, and they've marked out where the targeted high-grade zone is for the, I guess, the main trend near the principal fault. And as you can see here, this is a lithological boundary, or that's what is believed, and the rocks below here are possibly, I mean, it seems they are the same type of basement rocks that's present at the Hishikari, the world-class Hishikari deposit. And those kinds of rocks are quite brittle as far as I understand, and since precious metals precipitate due to depressurizing and boiling and all that stuff, so when there's like an earthquake or whatever that might crack some of these more brittle rocks, that leaves room for the fluids to expand or depressurize. So that would be a good host for precipitation of precious metals. So, I mean, not only is this rock type possibly even more favorable than the one above, but also the fact that this is the boiling zone level. So, I mean, I have no idea what will happen down here in terms of grades and stuff, and furthermore, I mean, as Quinten has said in a news release, the hypothesis is that some of these, the first mineralizing event was more silver rich, and then the faults, etc., started to move and probably or possibly broke off some of the plumbing, so it's possible that a lot of fluids got trapped underneath during the second gold rich event. And I just find it a bit fascinating that you see this basically a lithological bounding, and then you see this branching of I guess silicification. So, I mean, I don't know. I just hope that, I mean, this represents, you know, a big trap for precious metals, basically, that are also near the boiling zone or in the boiling zone, as well as in favorable rock types. So, I mean, in my mind, this is probably the most interesting exploration stock that I know of currently. And here is also a view of the Omu Sinter. You can see these 4 parallel trends basically, and all these are targets. And what's also noteworthy is that, I mean, they seem to, at least 2 of these seem to continue beyond the actual survey area. So it's still, you know, not open-ended in both directions because the ocean is up here, but I mean, we have no idea how far this continues and if we will pick up more trends or something. But I mean, and we've only drilled one of these trends and only above the boiling zone. So I mean, we basically haven't scratched the surface yet. So there's a lot of room for growth just at Omu Sinter. And this is the Omu mine site. Yeah, okay. This is the Omu mine site, and you can see there's they've basically drawn a lot of trends here as well, and it seems if you look here, it looks like we have this lithological boundary here as well. So I mean, that's a positive, and we'll get back to the Omu mine site later. But I mean, if you read the technical report and all the news releases out of Irving, I mean, there's a bunch of outcropping high-grade veins in this area. So we already know there's economic gold basically at surface, and there's some implosion breccia that grades like, I don't know, 500 grams per ton gold or something. And as far as I understand, those are that's made up of flushed up fragments from deeper down. So that kind of probably gives you a peek of what the material might look like when we get into the deeper parts of the system. But again, I mean, parallel trends is like it looks more complex, this area. I mean, the readings looks more scrambled or whatever. I have no idea if that's a good or a bad thing, but it looks to be pretty extensive. And here we have some of the bulk sample material, and this is maybe the biggest surprise. I mean, the Hokurio trend. I thought that was like the, I don't know, like the third ranked target or something, but I mean, as they've noted here, deep-rooted resistive structures, and this is where the old-timers mine basically. So they've touched only this in this area, and I don't think they were down into the boiling zone. And what's even more interesting is that the Marinyamar, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but there's a big sinter area up here, which is called something like Mariyama, and as you can see, I mean, at the edge of this CSAMT survey, it picked up a new trend. And here you got 3 developing trends, and this is a major trend. I mean, as you can see, I mean, this feature goes down to 1.1 kilometers. And overall length is like 2.2 kilometers. So might have multiple trends here as well. And the thing is that, okay, if you take these readings in isolation, okay, you could say that, maybe it's silicification, but there's no precious metal content. But the thing is that both the Omu Sinter area and the Omu mine site and the Hukuri area, I mean, we already know that there's been mining in all 3 of those areas. And we've hit at least Omu Sinter the first pass. I mean, we hit high-grade gold during a blind drilling campaign. So I mean, we already know that these systems are gold-bearing, and then add the fact that these features are trending basically towards each other. The Omu Sinter trends are heading towards Omu mine site, and Omu mine site is basically, I think, heading off to Hokurio, and you can see Hokurio is heading off to the southeast. So here's the Hokurio mine, here's the Omu mine, and here's the Omu Sinter, and here we have some gravity results which suggest fault structures. And as we read in a news release already, I mean, it looks like this is a district scale interconnected system. So I mean, oh boy, I mean, we've hit over 1 kilometer here. We've already hit the Omu mine site as well, which I will talk a bit more about later. And we know there was a legacy mine here. I think it employed up to 300 people or something, and barely, you know, just a thumbnail of the system that is basically suggested by the CSAMT readings. So I mean, I have no idea. Take this for example. Okay, there's obviously like 3 clusters, and the question is, okay, is it because these are the actual hotspots, or did these areas get more eroded or whatever, that, you know, the trends have more cover rock or whatever, if they are connected here and here, for example, or if they possibly go along this line. Here you can see some subtle anomalism, for example, that's basically possibly telling that there's a, you know, a linkage like this or something. And some of these readings also start to creep towards each other. So I mean, this looks to be a district scale play. I mean, that's already a given, I guess. But we have multiple parallel trends, and we have only tested one of these trends over 1 kilometer and already hit high grade to bonanza grade gold and silver. And we just a few days ago released the first 2 holes out of Omi mine site, which also hit high grade gold and silver, which is this news release. So okay, 2 holes up to 4.18 kilograms of silver per ton, and almost 29 grams of gold. It's over a pretty narrow intercept, but even if you dilute this is of course, I mean, 1.8 meters of 6 grams per ton gold and 808 grams per ton silver, or AU equivalent of 15.56 over almost 2 meters. I mean, we don't know the true thickness, but I mean, as you can see, 55 meters depth, at least core hole depth. And here it hit 1 meter of almost 20 grams per ton AU equivalent, starting from 5 meters. So I mean, that was obviously one of the goals with this first pass drill campaign at Omi mine site, to go after shallow mineralization, which could be, I mean, used for trial mining or bulk sampling or whatever. I mean, this is potential cash flow stuff, at least. I mean, especially this 5 meters down, already hitting high grade precious metals, and also, as is stated here, this implies that these veins may result from leakage from a larger vein system at depth, an intriguing possibility given the very high grade encounter. Again, I mean, this is like, I don't know, the boiling zone is expected to be like 300 meters down or something. So I mean, that's kind of interesting. Okay, if you have grades 4.18 kilograms of silver 55 meters down, where many epithermal systems are already barren because all the metal content has already been dropped out. I mean, what happens when we get into the actual boiling zone, where the bulk of the mineralization should have precipitated? I mean, that's what's almost a bit scary about this Greater Omi project. We're hitting these grades. These weren't blind holes, but I mean, these were blind holes. And they hit those grades, again, above the boiling zones. These 2 weren't blind holes, but at very shallow levels, and hit grades like this. So, I mean, next up, they did 1 hole, I think, into the actual, I mean, to target the CSAMT readings, one of these trends at Omi mine site. And as it says here, in addition, a recently completed deep hole at Omi mine site has encountered multiple epithermal veins within the boiling zone at a vertical depth of 300 meters. Okay, so 1 hole, multiple veins in the boiling zone. And then we have this that starts basically from surface and goes all the way up to this. So I mean, you get the point. I mean, what's the vertical pay zone potential here? Multiple veins from the first drill hole, high grade already up to surface, and you get 4 trends at Omu's Sinter. You get, I don't know, 5 trends, and again, I mean, these trends aren't even cut off by the survey. So all of these surveys fell short of even, I mean, capturing the total potential of these multiple trends. So I mean, I think Irving could sustain, I don't know how many drill rigs. I mean, how long would it take to drill off this? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think if we're talking blue sky potential, I don't think there's many projects in the world that I could say have the same potential as the Greater Omu project. I mean, the funny thing is that Hishikari mine, I mean, the footprint of that, I think it's like 7 to 10 million ounces or something of like, I don't know, 30, 40 grams per ton gold equivalent. That was a small footprint. I've seen the schematics, and I mean, that's just within, I don't know, 1 kilometer or something. So that's like the footprint already of potentially just the Omu mine site, or this slide basically. So yeah, I mean, next year next year when we first get the first ever hole in this property that is targeting the actual boiling zone, and we already know it's hit multiple epithermal veins, and it's described as several such veins contain notable amounts of gingro or silver sulfur salts, possible small grains of electrum, and natural. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see as well. So I mean, I don't know what that hole will show, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some fireworks when this hole gets released. I think we have a couple of holes left to get reported from the shallow portions. And I mean, the shallow portions, that's not blue sky per se, but I mean, it of course gives you a hint of the robustness of these systems to hit these kind of grades this shallow. But at the same time, or more importantly, this is potentially a very good benefit for Irving, because I mean, they're basically delineating trial mining material. So I mean, if you can drill off an area with high grade veins outcropping its surface, I mean, that could, I don't know if it would cover all costs, but I mean, they could start bulk sampling and shipping this material to smelter and have a nice income stream. And that's the plan, obviously. So I mean, that's what I also like about Irving. I mean, they really have a business plan. It's not like, oh yeah, we know it's big, but let's but let's dilute all day of the week and twice on Sunday. No, they're actually, I mean, building a business plan to be try to be quite self-sustained. And then the deep drilling is obviously for the blue sky stuff. And I mean, if it turns out that, I mean, all this you see here is an interconnected system and whatever, I mean, that's could be one of the biggest mines in the world. And I bet that's why Newmont got into Irving and why Sumitomo might come in. I mean, they obviously can read the CSAMT results and know what the blue sky is for Irving. So anyway, yeah, next year when they release the results of the first and so far, first ever drill hole to the boiling zone of Omu mine site, that will be one to watch. And when they go back to drill the Omu the Omusinter trend, or one of the trends, and try to pierce the boiling zone. I mean, that's gonna be very exciting. I'm biased, of course, since Irving is my second largest position, and I think next year is when it might get really fun, because even though these are all superb results, this is what might produce, I guess, real, barn burner news releases, headlines. Anyway, that's it. Merry Christmas, guys. Bye.